All right, let's dive into a story that played out in real time, one that basically turned thousands of regular smartphone users, maybe even you, into digital detectives trying to solve a very modern mystery.
It all started with this. Just this. For tons of Verizon customers, back on January 14th, 2026, their connection to everything, texts, calls, the internet, it all just vanished. And in its place, 3 little letters, SOS. So what in the world was happening? That was the mystery that absolutely blew up social media, group chats, you name it. So let's follow the clues, right from the very first sign that something was seriously wrong.
Now, our story here doesn't start with some official announcement from a big company. Nope. It started with the people on the ground, the ones staring at their phones, wondering what was going on.
And these were the very first clues. Little digital breadcrumbs scattered all over social media. People were jumping on any Wi-Fi they could find, just asking, is it just me?
SOS mode isn't just your phone being glitchy. It's a sign of a total failure to connect. It's literally your phone's last-ditch effort to say, hey, I can't find my home network, but I'll try to keep a line open for emergencies just in case.
Okay, so with all these individual reports flooding in, the next step for our digital detectives was to figure out just how big this thing was. It was time to follow the data.
And when it comes to modern outages, this is pretty much the town square. This is where the true scale of the problem became crystal clear, because it takes all those thousands of individual reports and puts them in one place. And the first spike was just massive. By about 12:16 p.m. Eastern, more than 46,000 outage reports had already hit the site. That right there tells you this is no small, localized hiccup.
But it didn't stop there. A little while later, that number had practically doubled to over 90,000 reports. Okay, this confirmed it. We're looking at a major, widespread incident that was affecting a ton of people.
And yeah, this wasn't just one city. We're talking reports pouring in from all over, from the super dense New York metro area to cities all across Texas, Florida, even Las Vegas. It was pretty much coast to coast.
But this is where the story gets really weird. You've got tens of thousands of people screaming online that their phones don't work, but Verizon's own official tools, they were silent. Their status checker literally said everything was fine. A total disconnect between what customers were experiencing and what the company was saying.
And that was the real turning point. I mean, the evidence from the public was just overwhelming. The silence from the official channels, well, that was becoming deafening.
Finally, after all that public pressure and, tech journalists started making calls, the company at the center of this whole mystery finally spoke up.
And there it is, confirmation. Verizon officially admitted, yep, there's a problem affecting both voice and data. But they didn't say what caused it, or more importantly, when it would be fixed. So the mystery continued.
But just when you think the main case is confirmed, a really strange new clue popped up that just didn't seem to fit the pattern at all.
This was a total curveball. It turned out some phones that were using Verizon's network had no problems at all. They were working perfectly fine. So it wasn't as simple as the Verizon network is down.
So how is that even possible? Well, it comes down to this thing called an MVNO. Basically, think of it like this. An MVNO is like a tenant. They don't own the building, the cell towers. They just lease space from the landlord, in this case, Verizon, and sell it under their own brand.
And the perfect example here was Visible, which is a carrier that's actually owned by Verizon. It uses Verizon's own infrastructure, its own pipes, and yet, for some of their users, the data was flowing just fine. Tech reporters were calling it peculiar, which is a nice way of saying, this makes no sense.
And that's the big lingering question, right? It really shows you just how layered and complex our digital world is. It suggests the problem wasn't a total system meltdown, but maybe something really specific to how direct Verizon customers connect to the network. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, this whole thing gives us a perfect blueprint for how these stories almost always play out now. Step 1, the users feel it first. Step 2, crowdsourced data, like Down Detector, proves it's a real problem. And step 3, eventually the company confirms it. So while the immediate mystery of what was happening got solved, the full story of why it happened, well, that was still being figured out by engineers behind the scenes. And for all of us, that's a huge blind spot. We can see the what, but we almost never get the full story on the why.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. Outages like this are way more than just an inconvenience. They are a live stress test of the systems we depend on for, well, everything. Our jobs, our safety, our connection to each other.
So the real question is, how strong is that foundation really?